Ashbourne's history does not begin with its foundation in 1820. The lands that would become Ashbourne have borne witness to human activity and settlement since the coming of people to Ireland. The site of Cnoc Neil, that guards the southern approach to the town, has been a focal point for people throughout the ages. The larch tree-covered mound itself is not man-made. It is an esker, a short swelling of earth that rises over 50 feet, and which was laid down by retreating ice sheets during the last ice age. People first arrived in Ireland around 10,000 years ago, just after the ice age ended, by way of a land bridge that long ago connected Ireland to Britain. These were a Stone Age people in an era known as the Mesolithic. They were hunter-gatherers, small groups of semi-nomadic people who left very little trace of their passing. They did not build large monuments or live in large settlements. Rather, they moved with the seasons and exploited resources when they were abundant, such as fishing for salmon or collecting hazelnuts. Although little of their material culture has survived, what has been discovered has demonstrated what excellent craftspeople they were. Cnoc Neil has yielded some of its secrets to us, such as several flint knives which date to the late Mesolithic, around 4500 BC. These knives are known as banflakes, on account of many such being found along the River Bann in Northern Ireland. They are a large leaf-shaped blade, made from shirt or flint, which are both varieties of quartz. They are believed to have been all-purpose tools and possibly used as weapons. It is incredible to imagine small groups of people camping, collecting and hunting food, mending clothes, traps and tools in and around this hill over 6,500 years ago. They would have traversed the area that we now call Ashbourne, foraging and laying their traps. And so, such people came and went through this area until a new time emerged, with new ideas and technology, a new way of life, a new way of bending the land to serve. This era for humankind was known as the Neolithic. It began in the Middle East, and it was there that the basis of farming was created. People learned to cultivate crops and to domesticate animals about 12,000 years ago. Very gradually, that way of life crept and meandered its way across Europe until it reached Ireland about 6,000 years later. New people arrived and brought with them the knowledge to plant, grow and harvest crops, as well as animal husbandry. These first farmers began to clear Ireland's dense and ancient woods, which were thronged with oak and elm, so that they could sow their seeds and allow their animals to graze. Although farming was the focus of this time, hunting would still have been essential, and Cnoc Neil has offered up a solitary stone arrowhead which can be dated to sometime in the Neolithic period, which spanned from around 4000 BC to 2500 BC. We can only wonder at the religious beliefs and practices of our prehistoric ancestors. The megalithic monuments and tombs that are scattered throughout Ireland, such as the great complex of Brú na Bóinne, are testament to the conviction of Neolithic people's beliefs. Many such monuments are aligned to the equinox or solstice. It is no surprise that a society who depends on the sun for their crops should acknowledge, if not worship, the sun and its cycles. Cnoc Neil may be no different, and there is some evidence of the hill being used for such ceremonies during the equinox and solstice. The Bronze Age followed, and for the next 2,000 years people would perfect the craft of metalworking with this material, and Cnoc Neil continued to attract people. 2 Fulucht Fia were discovered during the construction of the M2. These ancient cooking pits consisted of troughs dug near a water supply, which were filled with water and heated stones in order to cook their meals. Their very name means cooking pit of the deer, and it conjures up images of Bronze Age hunters pursuing their quarry through the lands that would eventually be known as Ashbourne, catching, killing and cooking their prize, and perhaps spending the night on the slopes of Cnoc Neil. 600 BC saw the gradual transition from bronze to iron, and thus began Ireland's Iron Age, the heroic age in which our myths and legends celebrate the exploits of Cuchulainn and Queen Maeve. The waning of the Bronze Age witnessed an increase in weaponry production, and could only suggest an increase in feuding and warfare. This splintering of society gathered pace in the Iron Age with the introduction of iron as a superior metal for crafting weapons. It was an age of warriors, and Cnoc Neil bore witness to this with the construction of a hill fort upon its brow. A deep ditch would have been dug around the crown of the hill, and soil would have been banked up inside the ditch, and a wooden palisade or wall erected on top of it. It would have deterred only the most determined and organised enemies and raiding parties. It also would have been here that warriors would have gathered before they struck out to raid neighbouring territories. By this time, society would have organised itself according to lineages and tribes that could, and indeed strove, to differentiate themselves from each other. The various kingdoms and sub-kingdoms were frequently at war with one another and ever sought to expand their holdings. It was during the Iron Age, around the 1st century AD, that the kingdom of Meath was created by a king named Tuathal Tecfar, by taking pieces from each of the other 4 provinces. From the Leigan or Leinstermen, he took the lands north of the River Liffey, although some Leinster tribes seem to have lingered for a time. Eventually the Leigan were expelled from Meath in the 6th century by the Neil clan, and it could be from this time that Cnoc Neil received its name. It would not be until the 17th century that Meath was once again subsumed into Leinster and thus forfeited its provincial title. The hill continued to be used over time, and during the early Christian period, a souterrain was constructed to the southwest of Cnoc Neil. Souterrains were underground stone-lined tunnels used for storage and indeed refuge in times of danger. Unfortunately, after this time, our understanding of people's relationship with Cnoc Neil diminishes. There is evidence of drainage ditches being dug at different times throughout the early modern period, and we can only assume that the hill settled comfortably into a landscape concerned only with farming and grazing. Cnoc Neil has witnessed millennia of human activity and occupation. It has known many peoples and has silently watched them come and go. Today, the people of Ashbourne find themselves as the current custodians of this ancient hill. We need only hold it in trust until we pass it on to future generations, as Cnoc Neil continues its journey mapping human activity in this small section of Ireland.